Welcome, and thanks for joining us today for our 21st episode of the Restaurant Dealmaker Show, where we discuss pertinent topics regarding the food and beverage industry with industry professionals. Before I introduce Michael Baker, our guest co-host today, I wanted to give you some brief information on our lineup of guest hosts in the coming months. Our November show will be a little bit different, and it's going to be hosted by Jeremy Brockman, our marketing director, and will include participation with many of Restaurant Realty's associates to talk about some of our 2023 highlights, and most importantly, to wish all of you a very happy and healthy holiday season. We are lining up our 2024 Dealmaker co-hosts, and we will announce the specific dates that they will be co-hosting in the near future. But the people that have committed so far to be our co-hosts in 2024, I'm going to just give you a brief overview. First of which, who will probably appear in January, is Larry and Michael Mendel. Larry was the founder of Spectrum Foods, who operated Chow, MacArthur Park, Prego, Guamas, and many other brands before developing the Il Fornaio chain with Michael, which he took public. Michael is his son. Larry and Michael currently own and operate Poggio and Copita in Sausalito, Convivo in Santa Barbara, and they will be opening a second Copita in San Jose shortly. In fact, if they haven't opened it already, it's going to be within the next week or two. Our next co-host for 2024 will be Bill Higgins. In 1985, Bill, with partners Bill Upson and Cindy Paulson, started Real Restaurants, which is one of the top independent restaurant chains in the country. Real Restaurants currently owns or has operated the following hospitality businesses in Northern California: Barbazzi, Bungalow 44, Floodwater, Restaurant Pico, Fog City, Panorama Bakery, Restaurant Pico, Pizzeria Pico, Pizzeria La Travina, and Tre Posti. These are all in Northern California area, many of which are in Marin County, fortunately, because I live in Marin and get to enjoy these restaurants. Nate Valentine, a former client. Nate is a partner in the following San Francisco Bay Area operations: August Hall and Fifth Arrow, which is a large entertainment venue in downtown San Francisco; the Tipsy Pig, which I actually sold them on Chestnut Street in San Francisco; the Peacekeeper, Harper and Rye, and Pedricito, excuse the pronunciation. Nate is also a partner in 4 Blue Barn gourmet locations, 2 in San Francisco and 2 in Marin. And he was also formerly a partner in several other well-known San Francisco Bay Area food and beverage operations. Our next co-host guest for 2024 will be Dean Biersch. Dean founded in 1987 Gordon Biersch Brewery, along with his business partner Dan Gordon, which they sold in 1998. And currently, Dean is the founder and owner of Hop Monk Tavern, which has 3 Northern California locations in Sonoma, Sebastopol, and Novato. Another former client, Scott Roderick, founder of Roderick Foods, City of San Francisco largest McDonald's franchisee. He actually owns 20 McDonald's franchises. He's also the co-founder of Tastes on the Fly, which is one of America's leading boutique operator of food and beverage concepts in airports with operations in San Francisco, New York, Boston, Denver, and Vancouver. Another former client, Ray Bartolomucci. He founded Strizzi's and Rigatoni's Fresh Italian restaurants, with many locations in the San Francisco Bay Area, which he's had for over 35 years. And he has a very colorful background. He worked for Marriott for many years, operating many of their food and beverage operations throughout the country. Marian Costello, she's president of Skoma's Restaurant, which Skoma's in San Francisco at one time was one of the largest grossing restaurants in the United States. And they were in the largest grossing restaurant in San Francisco for many years. And she's also formerly the past president of the Golden Gate Restaurant Association. And our last committed co-host for 2024 is Heidi Kraling. She's the chef owner of the famous Michelin-rated Ensalada Mediterranean restaurant in San Anselmo, She was also formerly involved in Marinitas in San Anselmo, and she's been in business for nearly 30 years. Heidi is the author of 2 books, and she has held leadership positions in many very worthwhile nonprofit organizations, including extrafood.org, 10,000 Degrees, Adopt the Family, Lighthouse, and St. Vincent de Paul. So we have a very exciting lineup. And today we even have another very superb operator. It was my pleasure to actually be involved with Michael in selling him the Pizzalina. And Michael purchased the Pizzalina during COVID, if you can believe that, which is a neighborhood. Pizzalina in San Anselmo is a neighborhood gathering place specializing in hand-stretched Neapolitan wood-fired pizza and rustic cuisine located in the Red Hill Shopping Center in San Anselmo. And as I said, he purchased it during COVID. And this is sort of a unique situation because the seller was Louise Franz, who was one of our earlier co-hosts on the show. And so it's nice to have both the seller and a buyer for the same business. Michael's opening his second Pizzalina in Walnut Creek in the Countrywood Shopping Center in the very near future, the next couple months. Their handmade dishes are made with fresh, locally grown organic produce, plus pizza crust and mozzarella that is made in-house. The Walnut Creek location's menu will differ slightly from the original, and in that Michael plans to experiment with different pizza styles, and there'll be other changes which he'll discuss during this show. Michael is a seasoned culinary professional with a proven track record of success leading high volume and complex food service operations. Michael was formerly corporate executive chef at Chalet Restaurant Group and was responsible for the financial and operational results of all restaurants in the company, with 5 successful Bay Area restaurants, including the Beach Chalet in San Francisco and the Lake Chalet in Oakland, with combined annual revenues of $21 million. Prior to this stint with Chalet Restaurant Group, Michael was the executive chef at Piatti Restaurant and Bar in Danville. And Michael, and plus he's had numerous other chef jobs. And Michael is a certified executive chef from the American Culinary Federation. So just a procedural note, if you have any questions during the show, please type in your questions into the question bar and we'll try to answer them during the show. So without further ado, Michael, could you please give us some additional background information on yourself and how you decided to get in the restaurant business? And curious as to, what was your first restaurant job? So Michael, welcome.
Sure. Thank you, Steve. All I've ever done is work in the kitchen. I started at a young age. I started washing dishes at a restaurant on Cape Cod, Massachusetts, when I was around 14, 15 years old. And it's all I've ever done. I've spent some time in Washington, D.C., spent some time in Atlanta. I spent 10 years in Hawaii, and I've been in the Bay Area for about 24 years now.
And so what all this travel, was that related to your career or the different?
When I was younger, in my early 20s, I wanted to travel and ended up being able to work at some really good places at the same time.
Oh, cool. Yeah, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. That's great.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to become an owner after having, been an employee in the industry for so many years?
Just, I guess, getting older and wanting to have control over my destiny and control over the time spent. And, just looking forward to what am I going to be doing in 5 years, 10 years? What do I want to be doing? And maybe having a little more time to play golf and go fishing and things like that.
Okay. Are you finding, building a second location? I don't think that's happening yet.
I haven't quite got there yet. I'm still looking forward to that in a couple of years.
Right. After you get number 2 open, hopefully get the bugs out.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure. So how has your past experience contributed to your success as an owner today?
Well, I've got a lot of experience leading different kinds of kitchens, and it all helps me every day to get things done.
Mm-hmm. And you most of your experience has been centered to the back of the house. So, and obviously, when you take ownership of a restaurant, you've got to be tuned into all stations, front of the house, back of the house, administrative, et cetera. Was that a major transition for you?
Definitely, yeah. There's a lot more things to worry about versus just running your kitchens. Now I have to worry about bookkeeping, taxes, insurance, who's doing the marketing, the landlord. Yeah, there's many, many more things to worry about now.
Sure, I understand. So I know your wife has been involved with you. Why don't you tell us what the scope of her involvement is and how she's helping you, basically build your business?
Yeah, she basically runs the whole front of the house, all the service, the beverage program.
Mhm.
She deals with the bookkeeper and takes care of all the invoices. And yeah, she's been a wonderful partner. Couldn't do it without her.
And from what I understand, she's very integral in getting your second location up and running, right? She's working with contractors, is that right? And coordinating the actual construction?
We're both doing that, but she's very involved with the design side of the front of the house, the colors, the way the place is going to look in general.
Sure. Yeah. Well, you're lucky to have that kind of support, because I know it was helpful for me to have my wife. My wife was mainly supportive on the emotional end. In fact, I'll tell you a quick story, and that was pretty much the end of her working with me in the restaurant business. She was going to summer school in college, and I opened a new restaurant on the ground floor of a 500-room hotel, and it was an extremely busy summer. The Lions International was having their conference in San Francisco, and that literally drew hundreds of thousands of people. Plus, the Japanese at that time were very viable tourists in the city. I'm talking about, this is in the 70s. And we had a big restaurant, 200-seat restaurant, and we had a banquet room, and we had a banquet schedule, a big Japanese group, like for 75 at like 7 a.m. The lady that I had scheduled to be the food server for that station calls me at 5 a.m, says she's sick, she can't come in. My wife was working as a hostess cashier type. And so, she really didn't have any experience being a food server per se, especially with a group of like 75 people. And, with me backing her up, we ran a very tight schedule. We were a union house. So, our labor costs were very challenging, to say the least. So I said, dear, do you think you could help me out on this event? And she says, all right, I will. At the end of that event, she basically handed me her resignation. and that was the end of her restaurant career. And probably because she had her own career in retail, and she was a buyer and a sales manager at Macy's, and had her own sales rep business. But yeah, it's nice you have your wife, as part of the team.
She actually doesn't come from this business, her background, but her personality and her smile and everything about her is just perfect for the hospitality business.
I must say, I was extremely impressed. I was a customer at your San Anselmo location, and my wife and I were having a meal, and all of a sudden this enthusiastic lady comes over and says, is there anything else you need? Can I help you? And she was extremely, outgoing and very service oriented. And sure enough, it was your wife.
That's her.
Yeah, she definitely does a good job. You're lucky to have her as part of your team, for sure.
No doubt.
So what are the most challenging things of becoming a restaurant owner operator versus being an employee?
I would say just like I was saying before, there's just many more things to worry about. You got to
by paying the bills, right?
Yeah. It's a different kind of risk. I mean, you have no risk of losing your job, but you have a risk of losing your customers and your business. It's just a different kind of risk.
Yeah, you've got a lot of issues to deal with, obviously, just besides just doing your own focused, task. You got to keep the employees motivated. You got to keep the guests happy. You got to pay your bills on time. Yeah, there's obviously
so you got to look at the big picture of the whole operation. Yes,
absolutely. Yeah, and it's extremely challenging, and especially now. So, how are you dealing with the employee situation? With employees being the employee market being so tight. And I know in Marin County, my family goes back to operating restaurants in Marin County since 1953, if you can believe that.
Wow.
My father opened his like second restaurant in Corte Madera.
Oh.
And even he was lamenting, and I experienced it myself. It was always difficult to find employees to work in restaurants in Marin County, even before COVID and all the other issues that we've had over the years. How do you deal with that in Marin?
We actually don't have any problem finding kitchen staff. We have a little bit of trouble finding front of the house people just because that has changed so much. But I like to make sure that I give people clear expectations up front about what's expected, make sure they have a detailed job description so they know what's expected of them. I think you have to have integrity as a leader. Make sure you do what you say you're going to do. You need to always be teaching people new things to keep them interested. I think if you just run a good operation, people will kind of find you. And through word of mouth is really the best way to get people.
Yes. And I assume you have really good ratings on social media, because I would imagine social media seems to have a big impact on people's decision if they don't know you. I know from my own experience, I go to a new area and we're trying to find out where to go. We go to social media largely.
Sure.
What's been your experience with social media?
As far as hiring or just in general?
Just in general, in terms of customer satisfaction.
It's super important. When I first took over, I tried to do it myself. But I quickly found out that I don't know what I'm doing. And now I have a company that does it for me.
When they say does it for you, what do they do?
They do all my digital marketing, my website, email blasts, all that kind of stuff.
I see.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've ever had a situation, but inevitably most organizations have, where you have somebody that just gives you an unwarranted bad review. Have you ever had that situation? And how do you respond to that on social media if you do have other than really good?
Not so much on social media, but on places like Yelp, we've gotten obviously mostly good reviews, a few bad ones.
Yes.
I try not to even look at Yelp anymore.
Yeah.
Because
do you respond? Because I know for a fact, because they review our company too. They go to Yelp, even though we're not a restaurant per se. But a lot of people think we are a restaurant because we're called Restaurant Realty, but we're obviously a restaurant brokerage company. But we do occasionally. Fortunately, we have 4+ stars, but occasionally we will get some guy that makes some unwarranted negative review. And what we do procedurally is that we respond on Yelp to that, to that.
I will respond to any Yelp reviews. I know a lot of owners do, but I decided just to be hands off and just let that do what it's going to do. Yes.
Got it. Well, I would assume that your extensive experience in dealing with employees over the years basically an executive chef, where you had lots of employees and you had a lot of interaction, not only with your chefs, but with the food servers and all the other employees within your your past very responsible positions. Sure. That has helpfully led to your success in dealing with employees. And how do you find, basically, what do you do to motivate good employees to stay with you? Especially in this, tight labor market, and with all the pressure to raise wages, and, with this $20 an hour thing pending, in California next year, minimum wage for fast food workers, for companies that have
obviously money is an important factor, but it's not everything. I think the culture of the restaurant, having a good working environment, and constantly teaching people new skills, like even if they won't admit it, everyone likes learning new things and getting better. So I just try to keep teaching people all the time.
Sure. Yeah, well, there's nothing like experience, and you definitely have that experience. So how does Pizzalina stand out from its competition?
We try to have an exciting menu all the time. We have new exciting dishes for people. We try to have the best service, great hospitality, and we try to just get a little better every day at everything we're doing.
Yeah.
And I try not to worry too much about my competition. I just try to be good at what we're doing.
Yes. And I personally don't eat a lot of pizza because I'm very conscious about my weight, but I know it's one of the most popular items, in America, maybe second to hamburgers, right? I don't know. Is pizza one or hamburgers two, or is it still hamburgers number one?
I haven't seen the research on that, but yeah, it's definitely everyone's favorite food.
Yeah, it definitely is. So, I mean, pizza, I mean, the competition is overwhelming for pizza. And obviously you're at the high end quality wise. And so you're basically competing with just extraordinary ingredients and unique, formulas, et cetera, I would assume.
Yeah, I think people think of it as two different things, almost like you got your national chains and your local artisan pizzerias are pretty different.
And you falling in the local artisan pizza niche, how do you differentiate yourself from other local artisan niches? Because I know specific, other artisan niches in your immediate trade area in San Anselmo, because I've been involved in some of the, sales transactions involving those transactions.
I just try to stay on top of the quality all the time and just try to make everything better as much as I can.
Yeah, no, you do have an outstanding product. There's no question about that. So from your perspective, what are the 3 priority items that one needs to practice to be successful in business? Specifically, what are the 3 tips for running a successful pizzeria?
For running a successful pizzeria, I would say the employees is number 1. Finding a way to find good people and keep them.
Yeah.
You can't do everything yourself.
Yeah. And before you go on, how do you train your employees generally?
We have recipes for everything. We have pictures of everything. We have SOPs, like standard operating procedures for everything.
Sure.
And we try to lay out exactly, the plan. And obviously they'll spend time working with my managers, at least a week or 2 working directly with them.
So they'll shadow your manager, shadow your other top food servers.
Yeah, absolutely.
For a period of time. Yeah, that we do the same thing with our new agents. We have them shadow, when they go on listing appointments with our, with new prospective clients. Yeah.
And I think in restaurants in general, having good systems is very important.
What kind of POS system do you use?
We use Toast.
Oh, yeah.
I say systems, I mean like operating systems, like just for consistency, like doing the same thing the same way every day.
Right.
Good recipes, good pictures, good training. It all comes down to consistency, which is very important.
Sure. Absolutely. So what are the things that you like most about the restaurant business?
I would say it's still kind of the thrill of having a busy night ahead of us and just the challenge of being ready for the rush that's coming and executing that successfully. It's kind of like a bus going down the highway almost. Like, those 200 people are coming. That bus isn't stopping. So how are you going to handle it? And just the thrill of getting through that and having happy people in your restaurant, getting to the end of that shift.
When you've had a situation where you sense that you have a disgruntled customer, how do you deal with that?
Send my wife to go talk to them.
Well, I'm sure she does a great job diffusing it. So do you find you ever have to comp a meal or give somebody a dessert or give them a complimentary pass to come back again?
It happens occasionally. I mean, you can't please everybody, but yeah, you can usually save the situation by being nice to them.
Yes.
And sometimes you have to offer a comp.
Yes.
But usually people appreciate just the attention from a manager or an owner of, hey, we're sorry, what can we do to fix this? And you can usually fix that situation before they leave your place.
Sure. You got it. So of all the experiences you've had in the restaurant business, what is the most satisfying experience you've ever had? Single most satisfying experience?
I would say in general, it's the people I've worked with and I've trained that have gone on to excel in their careers, like my chef teams from prior companies. Now, those guys were sous chefs and executive chefs, and now they're corporate executive chefs and maybe in some cases owners. Just seeing people succeed that I've worked with in the past.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, that's sort of a double-edged sword. You've worked so hard to get them to the level of excellence that you want them to, benefit you and your company with, and then boom, they go somewhere else. We had that same problem where we hired some people. I mean, specifically, they started with us as dishwashers, then became cooks, then became food servers, then assistant managers and managers, and then they went on their own.
Right, that's part of the business.
It is part of the business, and it's there's pluses and minuses. Obviously, you're happy to see them advance and go on to better and bigger opportunities. But on the other, it's sad where you've invested all this money and time with them, and you want to reap the benefits of their expertise, and they go on their own. But that's the way life works, and that's one of the wonderful things about living in this country. So, what has been the single most challenging event you've had in your restaurant career?
Single most challenging, probably just dealing with COVID, because we had to shut down 5 restaurants.
Wow. Yeah.
Let off, I think it was 500 people, or no, might have been 400. I can't remember exactly, but just going through that whole thing.
Wow.
And then, it was just basically the corporate team. It was me and maybe 2 or 3 other people. And then slowly reopening each restaurant one by one.
Wow.
It was like opening a new restaurant 5 times.
Oh, wow.
Just dealing with that whole situation, I'd say was the most challenging.
And you were the executive chef for Beach Chalet for all the executive chef for all 5 of the restaurants. Is that
corporate
right?
chef for the company? Yes.
Wow. Wow. Did you lose many of your staff in the back of the house as a result of COVID?
All of them. I mean, I'm the only one that didn't lose their job through that whole thing.
Really?
We laid everybody off so they could get the benefits.
Right.
Then we slowly started rehiring some of the same people. I mean, some people scattered, some people were still around.
So what percent of the original group of back of the house people that left because of COVID, you were able to recapture?
If I had to put a percentage on it, maybe 30-40%, something like that.
Wowee.
Yeah, and then obviously when you reopen, everything was to go. So you got to like rebuild your whole business model differently. That was big challenge.
Yeah. Wow. That was a horrendous challenge. Hopefully we will not see a COVID again. Yeah. So as a result of COVID, from your perspective, what are the priority items you see that customers are demanding? As in other words, in terms of they want more outdoor seating, do they want more spacing in the dining room? Is there still a continual realignment of takeout and delivery business to in-house seating business? What are the different things you've seen?
Still, I think it's way more takeout, at least where I am.
Yes.
Our place is like 60% takeout.
And what was it before COVID?
I'm not sure because I wasn't there.
That's
but,
right.
I got to think it was less.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course, pizza traditionally has always been a relatively high takeout formula, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's a bit long. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. The people are still, I mean, I sense from the customer's perspective, especially older baby boomer types, that a lot of them won't even go into inside dining rooms. They insist on seating outside. And then if there's a dining room, they want to make sure there's significant spacing. And they're just, they tend to be more paranoid, maybe because they're more vulnerable and they're older, and they have less life ahead of them. Who knows?
It's changing in general. People want to get on the phone and get the food, and
yeah,
that's it,
It's definitely changed the whole landscape without a question. So what are the things that you like least about the restaurant business?
I would have to say it's just the time commitment, missing out on all the family events and the weekends and the nights and the holidays. I'm just so used to it now. It's just a part of life. But looking back on it, that was the main thing I don't like about it.
Yes. Yeah, I hear you on that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know when we had our restaurants, we were open all the holidays. And so I frequently, worked on Christmas and Thanksgiving, and it definitely takes a lot away from the family.
Yeah, with the pizzeria, I don't have to do Thanksgiving, and it was such a shock because I've done these huge Thanksgivings for so many years,
Yeah.
and now it's like I don't know what to do on Thanksgiving. Stay
So
home.
traditionally, are most pizza places closed on Thanksgiving?
I think so. Yeah, I know mine is for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So it's generally a no-no to have pizza, I guess, on Thanksgiving. It's not
The night
not
before
very,
Thanksgiving is a huge pizza night, very busy because
the night before. Yeah.
yeah.
Got it. Yeah. What traditionally, what are the busiest times for the pizza business as well? Is it like during football season, or is it like
season the day before Thanksgiving.
okay.
I know for us, the summers are slow being in Marin because a lot of people go out of town.
Yes.
So our busiest months are like May and June. We do a lot of graduation parties.
Oh, sure.
So
How about during the holidays, like after Thanksgiving? Do you do much holiday business?
December is a pretty good month. We try to get a lot of Christmas parties, a lot of catering during that time. But yeah, December is a good month.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So obviously, we're in a very challenging economy. Operating costs are spiraling. Food costs, beverage costs, labor costs, insurance costs. Talk about insurance. I mean, we just learned that State Farm, who's like the bread and butter insurance company for insuring homes, is going to pull out of California supposedly in the near future. And all these other operating costs, increasing far greater than your ability to offset these costs and increasing menu prices. So how are you dealing with all these challenges? Because obviously you got to keep a balance of price value to the customer.
Yeah, I mean, you have to increase prices a little bit, and we have slowly, just to keep up with the inflation of everything, including labor, which is skyrocketed as well. But I think in general, just streamlining your operation, whether it's cross-training your people to do different jobs, cross-utilizing your ingredients and not buying the most expensive thing.
Mm-hmm.
Can you make something good out of pork butt versus filet mignon, right?
Yes.
So
you try to focus on lower food cost items, or trying to do economies of scale with your basic ingredients so that you can spread those out over more items.
Using the same thing on 2 or 3 different dishes versus making 3 different things, which would require that much more labor.
Yes.
Just streamlining everything like that.
Yeah.
We bid out all our purchases to 3 different companies every week, make them send their prices on every item.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, keep them honest.
Yeah. I know a number of my clients, they've changed their operating hours and changed their days of operation. Have you had to do any of those things? We're
thinking about maybe doing that. I haven't committed to it yet. The lunches in Marin are pretty quiet generally.
Yes.
So a lot of restaurants open at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock and don't do lunch. I'm not quite sure if we're going to do that yet or not.
Yeah. Because it's a double-edged sword, because I know we had a number of our restaurants are 24 hours. And when it became cost effective, when it became apparent that it was not cost effective to stay open after the bar rush, which the bars closed at 2 o'clock, and so people would come to our restaurants, between 2 and 3, but then between 3 and 6 or 7 in the morning it was totally dead. But we thought, for continuity, we would keep it open, late, or in some cases it wouldn't pay to stay open after midnight. But we were concerned, on weekdays, but on weekends, it would make sense to stay open maybe 24 hours at 4 in the morning. So we were always concerned about, if we close at midnight every night, let's say we close midnight on Sunday through Thursday and stay open later on Friday and Saturday, that's going to affect our late night business on the other nights. So it affects the continuity, we found, and it did do that. So it's a delicate balance.
Absolutely. That makes sense.
When you start changing hours, people can't remember, well, what days are you open, what hours? Of course, nowadays going to Yelp or going to all these other social media, you can pretty much find out what the hours are without any problem. So
Right. I see what you're saying. That's a good point.
yeah, that's definitely a benefit. So I've talked to a number of operators over the years that have gone from 1 unit to opening 2 units. And, from what I've heard from their experience, it's like an overwhelming challenge. It's totally different terrain when you deal with 2 units versus 1 unit. So what are your expectations like from going and owning and operating 1 unit to operating 2 units? And how do you plan to balance your time accordingly?
Yeah, it's going to be challenging. Our new unit is kind of right down the street from my house, so that's hopefully going to be kind of my home base to work out of.
Sure.
But it's just all about finding good people and supporting them well and letting them do their job. And just giving them good support and letting them do their thing.
Yes. So who's going to take over the primary management responsibilities, or do you already have your management team in place on unit number 1 in San Anselmo?
We do have them in place. Yeah, I have a chef de cuisine up there, but he's actually coming with me to Walnut Creek because he lives on this side. So we're going to run the first one with just a kitchen manager, really, without a chef.
Mm-hmm. And so how often do you think you'll be interacting with unit number 1 once you get unit 2 up and running?
I'll be over there at least a few times a week, I'm sure.
Yeah. You're a busy guy. It's definitely going to change your lifestyle for a while until you get the thing up and running, for sure.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to think that it could run itself, but nothing really runs itself, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the Countrywood Shopping Center, I know it's a long, old established center. How did you determine that was the right location for your concept?
It's the demographic is pretty similar to Marin. It's pretty residential. There's actually more people living around the restaurant.
Oh, for sure. It's a lot more dense.
Yeah, the space has been an Italian restaurant for a long, long time. It was called Sorrento's. So it kind of has that associated with it already.
I see. So are your price points, your menu prices going to be similar to Sorrento's?
Probably a little bit higher, but yeah, similar. Yeah, it was casual. They had pizza too. Yeah, so kind of similar.
Did they retire, or what happened to the restaurant?
The parents retired. I think the kids lost interest, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you have a good chance of recapturing a lot of that database, customer base that was formerly frequenting Sorrento's.
I think so. I'm down there every day, and at least 10 to 15 people pop their head in the door. When are you opening? When are you?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. And is your floor plate going to be the same? Your floor plan, is it, or have you enlarged the layout of the restaurant?
It's bigger. It's 3,200 square feet.
And what was Sorrento's? How big were they?
Oh, Sorrento's. Actually, yeah, I thought you were talking about Marin, but we took the space next door to Sorrento's, knocked the wall down.
That's right. So it's a bigger space.
So it's 1,000 square feet bigger than Sorrento's was. Yeah.
So what are you doing differently as far as your menu and your whole mode of operation in Walnut Creek versus what you do in San Anselmo?
So in Marin, the concept is pizzeria wine bar.
Mm-hmm.
Walnut Creek, we're calling it pizzeria tap room. We're putting in a big beer tap system, and a little more casual, a little more focused on pizza. We're going to have 3 different pizza styles.
Okay. And so you're going to do beer and wine on tap? Is that
correct? Yeah, we're going to have 10 beers on tap, 6 wines on tap.
I see. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So you'll be broadening the market that Sorrento's previously had, I would assume, based on doing that. So what are the demographics like in your immediate trade area there? Is it younger people?
A lot of families. Yeah, there's 3 high schools right around us.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot of families. Yeah.
Are you going to do any marketing to try to deal with those high schools and the families of those high
Yeah,
schools?
definitely. My wife's working on that. Partnerships with them and with softball teams, softball leagues,
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah, no, I know from dealing with other past restaurant owners that they work very closely with their, local high schools or, major organizations, to try to be involved. So that it's a conduit to get exposure to your restaurant. I know.
Yeah, definitely. The community.
That could be very, very beneficial.
Super, super important.
Right. So other than restaurant number 2, do you have any plans for future growth?
I'd like to say maybe we'll do a third one at some point, but right now I'm so
Yeah.
involved with number 2, I can't even think past it. Honestly.
Right. Yeah. Well, you have an excellent concept, and if you just replicate what you're doing in in San Anselmo and Walnut Creek, I'm sure you will be extremely successful there, and
I hope so.
expanding your menu base and your beverage base, etc. I think will enhance your chances for knocking it out of the park there. So I wish you lots of good luck. I definitely will go over there. My younger son lives in Walnut. He lives like a mile away from there.
Oh, okay.
So now we have a nice place to take my grandson and his wife.
You'll have to come to the opening.
Oh, I would love to. When is it going to be?
We're looking at hopefully December 15th, possibly January 1st, somewhere
Okay.
in.
Well, we'll be around. That is for sure.
Kind of a challenge learning how to do like construction management, which I've never done.
Yeah.
A whole new thing.
Oh, and dealing with construction management in this environment, I mean, it's just very difficult to get contractors, number one, and then when you do get them, the prices are going to be 2 to 3 times higher than what you anticipated. Yeah. So how is your ended project going to be in terms of what you projected versus what it's going to cost? I mean, is
3 times what we thought it was going to be.
3 times? Oh my goodness!
And 4 times the amount of time. I've had the lease for over a year and a half now, and it's
wow.
Yeah, they're just getting close to finishing up.
Yeah. So has your landlord worked with you pretty closely through this?
A little bit. They've given us a little bit of a break. Yeah, they've been really good, actually.
That's good. Yeah. I found that I'm working on I think I told you already another project there, and I found them to be pretty reasonable landlords compared to a lot of landlords I deal with.
Yeah, the property manager is great. She's definitely on the side of the tenants.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, well, you're in a good market, and you're following a venue that's been sounds like they were sort of an institution in the area, and I'm sure you're gonna get all those customers, at least the ones that are still living, at least initially, as curiosity seekers. And if you do the good job that I know you will do, you will recapture that market and then capitalize on that base of customers that they had with the other newbies in the area that don't know you. And we'll try you. The key is retaining the curiosity seeker, and I'm sure if you execute the way you do in San Anselmo, you will do that, and I'm sure you'll be very successful. So again, I wish you lots of good luck with the project. Anything else you want to say before we conclude today?
Thank you. No, I think I'm good.
Good. Okay. Well, we very much appreciate you joining us today. Now, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, what is the best way to do so? What's your email address?
Walnut Creek at pizzalina.com.
Okay, Walnut Creek at pizzalina.com. Okay, great. All right. Thank you very much again. Very informative. Thank you, audience, for joining us today. If you want to get in touch with me regarding buying or selling restaurants or anything regarding restaurants in general, I can best be reached at steve@restaurantrealty.com. Or you can call me on our corporate number, which is 415-945-9701. And then when you hear my name in the directory, just leave a message for me and I will get back to you. So we very much appreciate your attention to us, and take care of yourself and take care of others and stay well in these very challenging times. Again, thank you all for joining us today. And thank you, Michael. And good luck to you in your new restaurant.